Being a Web3 founder is like riding a unicycle on a tightrope while someone is throwing flaming dodgeballs at you. It is chaotic, unsettling, and sometimes you set yourself on fire. Today, I want to share 5 lessons I've painfully learned over the last year as an entrepreneur. They're funny in hindsight, mainly because the company survived. But by the time we get to the final lesson, I think we'll all see how much of startup advice out there is a lie. So, without further ado, let's get started on lesson 1. First up is document everything. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen, which likely means 90% of my 2024 didn't happen. In all seriousness, founders juggle so much that things blur together. Writing things down forces clarity. It's like having a conversation with yourself, minus the awkward public stares. There's a famous quote that says, writing is thinking. Whether it's plans, feedback, or your next big idea, put it on paper as a way to not just organize your thoughts, but keep you sane. Bonus here is that documenting everything lets you know when you've had a small win and allows you to celebrate them. This is going to be essential through the entrepreneurial journey. It reminds me of the time where I would make a to-do list at the top of my to-do list to start with a little bit of a dopamine hit. The second lesson is to get used to rejection. It is the default state, especially as at an early stage. Rejection builds character. At least that's what I tell myself when crying into the pitch deck at 3 a.m. No one likes being told no, but as a founder, it's generally the default response you get. The way to combat this is, at least for me, to keep things simple and focus on showing rather than telling. When you stay true to your vision, it allows you to move forward and understand that what you're building may not be for everyone immediately, and you don't have to sell to everyone immediately to win. Through this process of rejection, the real win is that you find a bunch of people who truly align with your values and what you're trying to build. And that process is super exciting and rewarding. Next up, I want to talk about communication and how communication is not a one size fits all. In fact, you'll need to maintain a spectrum of different types of communication in your various dealings as an entrepreneur. Sometimes you need to over communicate, while others you need to under communicate. And sometimes you'll have to send an email so long even you don't want to read it. Figuring out how much to communicate is a skill. Some situations need clarity and over explaining, while others need trust and delegation. The trick is knowing which one is which, and spoiler alert, you're going to get it wrong a bunch of times. The real difficulty here is, and this might just be for me, but when it's all on you to make a call, it can get really lonely. The only benefit is that if no one else is there to disagree, you're automatically right. Next up, we have the idea that me time is absolutely critical. A famous quote says, you can't pour from an empty cup. Or in founders' terms, you can't pitch to investors if you haven't slept in 48 hours. Building a startup will chew you up if you let it. It's important that you take out that me time, whether it's a good workout, a meditation, some sort of breathing exercises. It's really not a luxury, it's a necessity. And skipping, any me time in the long term will catch up with you super quickly. And this kind of links to imposter syndrome. That never really goes away, but if you manage to take care of yourself and give your body what it needs, this whole imposter syndrome becomes more background noise instead of front row heckling. Now, on to the last lesson, which is one of my favorites, especially for the area that I'm involved in, which is Web3 and healthcare. And that is that hype cycles do not define long term success. Especially in Web3, hype cycles are literally like middle school crushes, intense, overhyped, and gone before you know it. Chasing trends will burn you out, especially in the long term, maybe even in the short term. You have to focus on fundamentals, and building something actual takes patience and consistent messaging. I'm only a year in, and really the horizon you need to look at is 10 years. Getting the messaging right is more than half the battle. The key thing to remember here is that technology is the tool or the enabler, not the end goal or the solution. If your product isn't solving a real problem, no amount of buzzwords is going to save you. So, yeah, being a founder is a mix of comedy, chaos, and occasionally competence. If you're building something in 2025, remember these 5 key points. Write everything down, embrace rejection, communicate smartly, take care of yourself, and don't fall for the hype. What is the most insightful or funniest thing you've learned while building something? Drop it in the comments. I need the entertainment. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this one.